Hello, good evening. Welcome to Talkin Kop. It's me, Chris Brack, and it was going to be three of us, but Kev's decided to not pay the internet bill. So it's just me and Ashley. So we're going to talk about everyone's favourite defender, Joel Matip, who was sadly retired at the age of only 33, which I've got to be honest, actually, that caught me off guard. I was just waiting for the announcement that he'd signed in January for someone after he'd recovered from his knee injury. So I was a little surprised when I found out he'd retired.
Yeah, I haven't seen much media from him at all. So I don't know where he is in his recovery process. But I was surprised to get that because I thought, surely someone in the lower half of the table in the Bundesliga or maybe in the Bundesliga 2 would be interested in Joel Matip because we were talking off air about his ability to come back from an injury and slot right in. And although it was an ACL injury, I wouldn't have put it past him to come back and play at a competitive level again, especially for maybe 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, especially a few Premier League sides wouldn't have been sniffing around him in January. Or even to us, even someone like a Villa, having someone like a Joe Matip in your squad with his experience would be quite handy. So but listen, maybe for him, maybe it could have been sadly for him. One injury too many, and maybe he's just thought the recovery of this at 33. I don't want to do this again. It could also be that just thinking that he's had enough. So yeah, I saw. I think Ocean puts in here. There was a rumor that he was going to Leverkusen at one point. Which you thought, that's a good career move. That'd be interesting.
I saw that during the transfer window. I think it was late August that there was someone that was reporting that they were saying that they were coming in from, and I was like, well, it makes sense from a leadership perspective, even if he doesn't play that often. So yeah, it's a shame that nothing like that ever materialized.
Yeah, it is a shame. So I be perfectly honest, when we signed him on a free from Schalke, I was just generally like, yeah, okay, cool. And this is around the time where we was still getting used to the whole Klopp, the new layout. You go like, I've never heard of this fella. We'll see what he looks like. And this bean pole arrives. You're going like, oh mate, he's gonna have to sort of bulk up a bit to cope in the Prem because there's nothing of him. To be fair, he just stayed the same. All I knew about was he had played defensive mid. He'd done well for Cameroon in a World Cup, but he's also a centre back. And I thought, okay, fair enough. We could do with a couple of centre backs, and I would say he had a tough start, because he had to play alongside Degzy Lovren. He had Milner at left back, Klein at right back. It wasn't the easiest Liverpool side to come into. It was just coming off the back of a losing the Europa League final. So you sort of think, like, this could be an interesting character. And everyone knows, so I'm not going to rewrite history. I was not a Joel Matip fan for the first couple of years of him. Looking back, probably was harsh. I think I mixed him in with Degzy Lovren and kind of went they're both the same. So Liverpool couldn't keep a clean sheet. So I kind of just sort of damned them all and went, I can't be doing with any of them. But, to be fair to him, he was a good, really good centre back. Very underrated. Very underrated, probably, I would say, by people outside of Liverpool, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think even now, even as a Champions League winner, as a Premier League winner, I don't think that you'd find many people putting his name in amongst, the top center backs in the league, which is a shame because I do think that if he wasn't as injury plagued as he turned out to be, some of the performance levels that he reached, they really were top drawer. And, it's a shame that he will only kind of be remembered in that light by Liverpool fans. I don't think that history will kind of look back on him and shine the same light that they do on Virgil. But there were some games throughout, especially through those title-winning seasons, where he was putting up Virgil-level performances.
Yeah, we'll come to it. The run to the Champions League final, the one we won, there's an argument he was playing better than Virgil, which takes some doing, to be fair to him. He unfortunately did get some really unfortunate injuries at the wrong times. He missed out the Champions League final of Kiev because he picked up a hamstring injury. I think we were trying to nurse him through games. The one that probably a lot of people forget is we all remember the Ali save against Napoli, the big save. The last moment of that game is him going up to bang a header clear and getting caught after
Brace
pulling
his collarbone, right?
collarbone, and you
Yeah.
just don't see him then for months. You're like going, that's how
That
it
was
looks.
one of those innocuous ones that you were like, oh, no, it'll be fine. He'll shake it off. And then,
And
you
then
know,
you're like, he's popped his shoulder. You're like,
yeah.
oh shit.
And
So
it was at the worst possible time too.
yeah, that was always his unfortunate side of it. I mean, look, let's get his injuries out of the way because to be honest, bless him, he had a lot.
Yes.
And I thought, and it's only when you look through the list, he has some big injuries. When you think the injuries he went through, when you think of other players, Oxlade-Chamberlain, people of that ilk, probably never recovered from this level of injuries. And to be fair, he kept coming back. So he had a really bad ankle injuries, had a couple of bad hamstrings. He's had 2 big knee injuries, and the big one probably for him was the ankle injury, that was a season when we had no centre backs.
Yep.
And to be fair to him, we were top of the league with him at centre back, and he literally had Henderson next to him, Fabinho next to him. He had everybody next to him, and he was doing really well. And he unfortunately, because a horror ankle break.
Like I can't remember like exactly what that was in his ankle because it just felt like it could never heal. Like I remember reading articles and watching like for updates on his ankle, thinking, oh, it's just an ankle injury. He'll be back in maybe 3 months. And 3 months turned into 6 months, turned into like the whole entire season. And I certainly wasn't anticipating it to be that long of an injury when he went down.
Yeah, because when that forced Liverpool to buy the hologram and Kabak, which was because literally it was ankle surgery and he was done. It was a big injury. But the one person who loved him, both on and off the pitch, was Virgil.
Yeah.
And it was very telling when Virgil came back from his knee injury. It was well known in the press and came out. When Virgil's getting his first game back after his injury, he insisted he wanted Matip next to him.
Yeah.
I think they just had such a good partnership. They knew each other's game inside out. I kind of just felt he could leave Matip to it, and Matip could just sort things out, and he was quite happy with that. Maybe the other centre backs he has to talk through a little bit because they're a bit younger, but Matip was just one of those guys you could just leave him to it, and they were a good combo. For someone who had absolutely no pace, I mean, literally, his walking pace was his running pace. He very rarely got done for pace.
Yeah, he had those real long legs. And you're right. There was something so symbiotic, like not even getting to the off-field stuff, which we'll get to later. But there was something so great about the relationship he had with Virgil where they just played off each other's strengths. And I think you're right in that Virgil didn't really have to talk him through things, but it just felt like they added calm to each other's games. Like even though he was sort of a weird little baby giraffe, and you don't look at him and say, oh, calm, but that's what it seemed like when they played with one another. It's like they just kind of had that telepathic knowledge of where the other was going to be, and they covered each other really nicely. And when I was looking back at some of the replays of videos of Matip today, just so we could talk, like I didn't realize just how much I missed those long field passes that he had. And I feel like between him and Virgil, we had such a great kind of weapon from the back, almost like a quarterback thing going on where they could just do those cross-field balls. And I had kind of forgotten that Matip had that in his locker. But they just did such a good job being like the yin to each other's yang.
Yeah. And as Kev, but you would have said this on the show, but did pay his internet bill. So I'm going to steal his point. When you watch his back, he very rarely goes to the ground. You very rarely
doesn't. And he doesn't
big
get
slide tackles, big
yellow cards. He doesn't get red cards very often either.
No, it was all about positional play. I think all the slowness he had in his legs, he had all the quickness in his head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, speaking of his head, goals wise, he loved it. His goals he only got 11, but there were some cracking headers he got for us. Probably should have scored more headers than he did because he was good in the box. He was good in the air. And that's probably one thing I'll say. I mean, I remember his first goal against Palace where he absolutely bangs a header and he's got a winner against Ajax.
Yep.
But his best goal contribution is the most Joel Matip thing you would ever see, which is his first ever assist is to set up Divock Origi to win the Champions League. That's his first ever assist for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Fair play. You don't need to do anything else after that.
He saved it for the really important moment. I think between that and then the Leeds goal, those are the ones that he's going to be remembered for. So that assist, and then that Maisie Matip like little through the pitch that everyone knew that eventually that would come to a goal. And I'm so glad that wasn't something that just sat and never happened. I'm so glad that he got the chance to finish one of those Maisie runs, because that's for me what I will remember him as, is that baby giraffe just sort of like, on ice, going through countless defenders. I believe he played it off to Mo, who played it back to him, and he got that ball. It was a wonderful finish, considering that he didn't finish that many with his feet. So, between those two, very fun memories.
But his little Maisie runs, it became a bit of a meme, didn't it? Like Thingy Baggins out of Lord of the Rings, I'm going on an adventure.
Yeah.
But when you look back at all those little Maisie runs he does, I don't remember him getting caught.
And they relieved so much pressure. It's something that I think actually becomes a Liverpool trait from defenders, where you're kind of seeing Konate do that a little bit now. You're seeing Kwanzaa do it a little bit now, where it's kind of something that we've adopted as a defensive style.
Yeah, Konate started to bring it into his game a little bit now. I think it's real. If you can't do the Virgil booming pass, it's something different. And also, how many centre backs decide they're going to go for a wander and it comes off regularly? After a while, people go, I don't know what's going on. And Dicko with one of my favourite matches. I remember Matip screaming at the grass. I mean, I'll be honest, he did take a foul against him quite personally. And some of the meltdowns he'd have over it, or the little funny walk he'd do.
Everton funny walk.
The Everton funny walk. I mean, listen, it's not funny because he absolutely snaps Thiago's knee.
Yeah.
But he walks over like a really serious
like
headmaster
or something. It's like he has no elbows and no knees, and he just kind of marches over there. I don't know. He deserved all of the meme credit that he got, and the whole no context Joel Matip account. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure everyone here has seen it. But if you haven't, it is one of the prime old Twitter accounts. I feel like that's going to be one of those things that we look back on. And you know how sometimes we're like, oh, like those were the good videos of YouTube, like way back when.
That was a good time of Twitter.
Yeah, like that's going to be prime Twitter that we recall 20 years from now.
Yeah, Scott Sweet said, didn't he start as a centre mid? Yeah, he was a DM at Schalke.
Yes.
You couldn't imagine that now, could you? Joel Matip.
I already have nightmares about like Fabinho switching back and forth between center back and defensive midfield. I don't need nightmares about the other reverse happening with Matip.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do many interviews, so it was quite funny with him. Most of Joel Matip stuff we know him for is the Liverpool stuff. The coconut water conversation is never not funny.
Deserves its own little 5-minute segment, because that to me is like the best piece of media that they have put out from the club in recent
just watch the outtakes. Makes me laugh all the time.
So good, and it's so him too. I don't know why it works, but just like the way that he just deadpan reads it from the book with the little facts. I don't know. For me, that's one of the funniest, and I think that was during COVID too.
Yeah, his voice though, when he spoke, I was like, that voice does not go with that body. It just doesn't work. How does this weird, very deep German accent? You're going like, it's not the voice I was expecting to hear from him. It's a very odd. It just doesn't. You look at that's just not the voice I expected to have.
No,
which really adds to him. I mean, we'll talk about him and Virgil. The loving. I mean, the Virgil with his Joel Matip t-shirt, which Joel Matip you could tell is absolutely dying inside, because he's definitely one of those socially awkward people. Where he's all inadvertently funny, but him and have you seen the one of him and Gomez bowling with?
Oh my gosh, yes, great.
It's so funny. But Van Dijk's
that
trying
needed
to
be like a mini TV series.
Yeah, Van Dijk's trying to do sight games with him, and he's just like he's having none of it. And he's quite cutting. He's quite cutting.
I think it was a Vistaprint commercial that it was a partnership with Vistaprint that they did. And it was after the t-shirt. So the t-shirt was in like a preseason media day. And then they took that image and they blew it up and they put it on a giant blanket and they gave it to Virgil as a Christmas gift. And so he just had this enormous, like larger than life image of Matip on a giant blanket that he was just cuddling on a couch. And it was that was like the greatest period for media there.
Yeah, or the reveal of his FIFA card when you realise Joe Matip's like me. He goes, I don't play FIFA. I don't know what this means. But then they're trying to explain to how bad his dribbling stats were, and he was like, I think my dribbling skills are quite good.
His dribbling skills are pretty good.
He was absolutely offended. Not quite as offended as Kanate.
Oh gosh.
That still is making me laugh now when they said like 75 pace. He goes, yeah, and the fella's going, it's gone down, and you just see absolute disgust. I fucking hate this game. I'm going bad enough. So the thing with Joel Matip, we all do it with him, is we all remember the funny stuff he does. You know, the training stuff. You know how eccentric he is. I forget how good a footballer he was. Yeah. I think that's to his detriment sometimes. Is he became like a meme because he was so likable, but at the same time, we forget like he was a really, really good defender. I mean, the debate would be, he's got to be up there with one of the best frees we've ever signed.
Yeah, I think
there's him, there's Milner,
him and Milner,
Marcus Babbel's the other three I can think of. Gary Mack, but over a smaller period, I just think he got more longevity out of it. Milner probably edges it because he got more game time out of Milner because he covers so many positions. But you know, this is a guy who was part of Liverpool winning the title and was a big part of Liverpool winning the Champions League, and he also was involved in FA Cups and League Cups. You know, he kind of likes winning trophies for us, which is always handy. Yeah, he was quite well. I mean, to give you his full rundown, so he did. I'll get his exact number of appearances up. 201 appearances that came to in the end.
Yep.
Which I'll be honest, you kind of thought it'd be more than that.
I mean, he didn't really have, I think, what was it? 2021, 2022. That was his most prolific season. He had 43 appearances that season. Yeah. But that was the most he was able to get throughout his whole career.
Yeah, because his first three seasons he got low 30s in all comps, which isn't bad. And after that, the ankle and knee injuries really caught up with it, which was just a shame because he was such a good player, and you just, you know, it's what you wanted. I mean, you know, even last season, you were looking going with the again tearing his ACL, but when you saw the injury, you were like, didn't look much, you know. No. And they're always the most innocuous ones. And again, you look, I'll be honest, with 10 games to go, you probably could have done with Joel Matip coming in for a bit of calmness.
Yeah,
and I think that.
I mean, but he also just needed the rotation at that point.
Yeah, I think that would have helped. You know, that's sometimes where you miss him, and that's where you miss him a little bit, unfortunately. But in terms of winning things, Champions League 2009, Super Cup 2019, Premier League 1920, League Cup 2022, FA Cup 2022. So not bad. It's not bad for a career. Not a bad start for a career. And quite a few near misses as well. So he did really well in his career for Liverpool. I mean, not that Champions League run. He was majestic in that. Yeah. He was unreal, especially the Barca game. Him and Van Dijk, really helped keep Messi and co quiet.
Yeah.
And I know he wasn't fully fit, but in the final, he had Harry Kane in his pocket.
He did.
I think
Harry Kane wasn't fully fit either, so
no, but
he kind of matched up nicely.
Yeah, I mean, but he just was calmness personified, and allowed Trent to get forward, could cover Trent, and didn't really get shown up at all, But yeah, the assist for Divock Origi still sticks in your mind. It's probably his best, one of the best moments for him, and it was nice when we all found out later. We're like, oh, that's great that it's Joel.
Well, no one expected him to be all the way up at all the way up near the goal line there. I didn't think that was him at the beginning.
Well, I was shouting for handball. For the head, I was shouting for handball. So and then you celebrate your ego. It's only when you get to like the third replay, you go, oh, it's massive who passed it. Because for ages, I have no idea who passed it. I just thought it just deflected. And then you watch it, it's a considered pass. It's not even like a lucky deflection. He knows where it's going.
Yeah. So, no, I don't know. He's one of those players. He's like the ultimate unsung hero for me in this particular time period of Liverpool. I think, like I said, he'll be remembered so fondly by Liverpool fans, but I don't know. I hope people will remember him beyond just Liverpool.
Yeah, his goal celebration against Arsenal in the title run season. Yeah, I remember that one. He absolutely loved his just scream out, just like the scream. That was his goal. So I just scream.
All of his celebrations were great. I was watching the replay of him doing the Super Cup, and he's just like in the back with his little magic jazz hands, and it's just.
It's just so.
Like, I know I look stupid, but it was great.
He's so understated with stuff like that, isn't he?
I think he just does it like intuitively. I don't think he thinks about being funny. I think he just acts normal and it comes across as funny.
Yeah. Thor's got the tantrum versus Swansea, the angry walk at Everton, out muscling Kane, Lukaku, and the YouTube videos with Klopp. Maisie runs. I think he answered his critics. He did. And he would still if it wasn't for the injuries, he would still be a Liverpool player now. Because I do think he'd have Liverpool would have extended his contract comfortably because he's probably Virgil's best partner. I think unfortunately for him, the knee injury is probably that one injury too much, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, his loss is Kwanzaa's gain because I think that we probably wouldn't have seen Kwanzaa last year. But I agree. I think he probably would have gotten at least one more year. And he probably would have played quite well because, like we've said earlier, he comes back from injuries really well. And I think, anyone that has had to manage injuries throughout their career, there's got to be an incredible amount of willpower there where it's like, that your body is kind of failing you and you're able to fight back and get back to playing fitness. And so that's something that we didn't really see much from him because he's a very quiet guy, but I'm sure that he had to go through a lot of internal struggles to get match fit that many times.
Yeah, he must have done. Yeah, but you're right. If he hadn't have got that last knee injury and he was still around now, that would have been the perfect three to rotate. Karate, Van Dijk, Matip, and then you still drop Kwanzaa in every now and again when you needed to. He just gave you what you needed. He was just that nice, calm influence, and he worked well with Karate. He worked, I'm sure, and he worked well. Him and Gomez, the short time they played together, was a good combo. Again, they sort of complemented each other really well. So, it's just a very sad end, unfortunately, to, a good Liverpool career. But you said Klopp said some nice things about him. I haven't seen the Klopp interview, but you mentioned it off air. Klopp was very glowing about him.
He did. Let me see if I can find the full quote. Give me 1 second.
While we're waiting for that, in the chat, give us your favourite Joel Matip moments. That's what we've got here. Garmax got everything we did was just so Joel Matip. It was. That seems to be the standard answer to everything. That's very Joel Matip. So as put, we may still re-sign him as a free agent in January if we get another centre-back crisis. You never know.
I hope we don't get to that point.
No, but nothing would surprise you at the moment, would it?
I found it. So Klopp said, in all the years that I've been involved in football, I'm not sure I have come across too many players who are more loved than Joel Matip. I'm not even sure it would be possible to say anything bad about him. A wonderful professional, a wonderful footballer, a wonderful human being. We've been blessed to have him with us for as long as we have. And now all we can do is wish him well as he heads off in a new direction. His qualities as a player are there for all to see. And as a club, we have benefited from them since the very first moment he joined. I don't think he has had too many headlines over the years, but he has only ever been a very famous figure within our group. I've said before that if there was one person who wouldn't care if he was underrated, it would be Joel. But the truth is, we could not have rated him more highly. Not only has he set the standards for himself, he has set them for others. And this is one of the main reasons why his time at Liverpool was so successful.
Very eloquently put by Klopp, but that sums him up perfectly. He's one of those people always describe it as you need three to play the piano, the rest to carry it. He was probably one of those, what you call a piano carrier. But I always felt, especially, there are times last year you were looking going, this feels like a Joel Matip game. This is a game that needs Joel Matip. He had that sort of, he's definitely one of those players that when he's not around, you're going, there are times you miss that. I mean, listen, the Forest loss this year, he probably would have maybe done with a Joel Matip because he's dominating the air from a set piece, or one of his little mazy runs, just to force a foul, just to force something, because you don't have many centre backs who want to run at you, because it's a very unusual technique. Tom Bowling said, "We always find wonderful ball-playing centre backs, but sadly injuries get them, like Agger." Yeah, that's a fair comparison. It's can't quite have everything, but I suppose maybe that was why he's the rest. I'm pretty sure he's gone through his whole career and never gone for a transfer fee, which is quite an impressive feat for someone
He's
who's
also
that
never
quality.
gotten a red card, which is an impressive feat for a defender.
Especially these days, yeah, because these days you get a red card for kicking the ball away, and you can have 3 months of debating it. It's grand, isn't it?
Oh, geez, yeah. I think with him, like you were saying, like so much of his strength came from his intellectual capacity to just read the game, and I think that Virgil gets a ton of credit for that. Like so often we hear pundits come out and say, he's 3 steps ahead of them in his mind. And I think Joel Matip was like that as well. I don't think he got any of those accolades, but I think, especially because he knew the limitations of his body, he had to be that much more intelligent, and he had to kind of position his body in a way that, maybe allowed him to not have to go to ground or not have to make a rash tackle, because, you see it a lot in the Premier League now. I mean, you see it with a lot of Manchester United defenders that, they don't have that intellectual capacity, and they're just butchering people left, right, and center, and that's how they're defending. And Matip to me is like the opposite of a Martinez. He has all of the intelligence and none of like that kind of vicious, I'm gonna just take you down attitude. And that, I don't know, that to me, I love that in a defender. That to me is just game intelligence from top to bottom.
Yeah, and listen, we all love the big blocks. We could all talk. We all the Carragher's, they're known for the big blocks, but there was a lot to be said that if you went for a big block like that, looks like make you out of position. And the best defenders very, very rarely go to ground. Virgil van Dijk rarely goes to ground. Hansen in his prime never did. One of my favourites of all time, Sami Hyypiä. Very rarely had to go to ground. Also, wasn't quick. So there's a lot to be said for. Maybe that's sometimes the benefit of not being a quick defender is you have to learn to be better awareness. But yeah, I've always had a thing for defenders are always on their arse flying tackles consistently. Generally, means they're out of position, and it's a that's what they have to look out for. So I thought, yeah, it's a thing that could be learned. And I think you've seen that stylistic now with Kanate doesn't seem to fly in as much. Kwanzaa definitely doesn't. He's more about positional play. So again, this could just be becoming a Liverpool trait again, which is that's kind of a thing you want from your centre backs as well. Is get the position right that you don't need to overstretch yourself, which in theory should lead to less injuries.
I mean, you'd like to hope so. I mean, sometimes I think, it's sad that Matip couldn't have been part of this kind of backroom medical staff revolution that's happening at Liverpool, where, you see them really doing a great job on some of the players that were more injury prone. Like, you do wonder if with a different training regime or a different diet or, whatever it is that makes that magic combination that, is working for them right now, it would have been great to have seen him just get a couple of seasons back to back where like he really didn't, because that's kind of what it felt like was hardest for him, where he would have one good season and then it would immediately drop off. And he wasn't really able to string any of those seasons together, and we couldn't see him for a run of games. And I think he might have benefited more than almost anyone else with all the changes that are happening in the back.
Yeah, maybe just a stylistic change from Klopp to
a little bit more control.
It's more control. It's a little bit more possession based. So he's probably less exposed one-on-one, which means you're less stretched, which should reduce your risk of getting injuries. It's all, but it's also what works here. But ultimately, the way Klopp played, which was more pace, more helter-skelter at times, he played a lot on that style and made it work. So he knew how to do. He was the calmness in the chaos, which I think is what you need. around that sort of time period. But wait for people to give you their best moments. What would you say?
Yeah, throw them into the chat. What do you guys remember about Matip, and what are the moments that will stand out for you?
Yeah, the one thing that we never got to see, because do you know what? I wish we could have seen it once, was we never saw him take a penalty in the shootout, did we?
Didn't he take one? I swear I saw that.
Did he? I can't remember if he took one.
I think he missed a penalty.
Because he didn't do the Super Cup. He never got to the Super Cup, and he wasn't on the pitch, was he, for the Chelsea one where everyone took one, including the keepers. I feel like he just missed out on any of those. I could be wrong. I probably am. I'm sure someone will correct me in a minute. Carl Mack talking about his coconut facts. That's his favourite Joel Matip moment.
The coconut facts?
The coconut facts,
they
definitely.
Are up there.
Yeah, Antica said his unluckiest moment was the own goal away at Spurs. Yeah, that was a bit of a killer. I think we all said that. I think it was actually the one play he didn't want it to happen to, because he played so well in that game when we were down to 9. Which is still a mad statement to say, though. We were down to 9 men and nearly got a draw.
I hate that that's like kind of at the end of his career and will be remembered like fresh in the mind, because it's one of those things that you wish was just like buried back in like 2016. Because I don't know, that was a kick in the teeth, that particular performance. Like, it was so good, and then to have it end like that, I don't know. That was definitely his unluckiest moment.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about his legacy then. What is your opinion his legacy?
I mean, I think his legacy, we talked a little bit about the playing style and kind of using those mazy runs as something that kind of is a signature within the Liverpool defensive style now. I think that going forward, like, I will kind of always remember those as a Joel Matip mazy run, or like a little, we're going on an adventure run. I think in terms of partnerships with Virgil, like kind of trying to find that yin and yang going forward. Like, he's a great example for how, you can have one center back that is kind of all glitz and glamour and is in the spotlight, but the other one can be just as important. And I think continuing to look for those partnerships is something that I'd like to see the club do. And I think probably just looking at what he does off the pitch and his demeanor off the pitch, and the fact that, he was never in the spotlight. He was never, in any sort of trouble. He was never in any sort of media whatsoever, which, is crazy, thinking about the amount of media coverage that exists in the world. The fact that I don't remember a single negative story about Joel Matip ever. I just remember him with a smile on his face, and, him just bringing like a great character into the dressing room. And I think that if those Klopp's quotes didn't say it already, I think that's really going to be like his legacy, is how good of a player he was to really round out that like fantastic like group of players during one of our greatest periods in history. And I think, his character was the backbone for that, among other characters. But for me, he will be remembered as one of the ones that, he was a leader. He was a comic relief. I think, there's so many things. What I don't know. I'm talking endlessly here. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love what you say. I agree. I mean, we said like you didn't hear any stuff in the press about him when he wasn't playing, because like at the start of the season we get the Champions League, he's on the bench. Joe Gomez has took his spot. Don't hear any moaning. Don't hear any grumbling. Don't hear, I'm not getting my chance. I need my opportunity. He just waited for his opportunity, but when he got it, it was quite hard then to dislodge him. And literally, Joe Gomez picks up I think Joe Gomez breaks his ankle at Burnley. Matip comes in, and when Joe Gomez is fit, you're like, can't actually get you a game. And that was it. And it was literally then we had to sort of wrap him in cotton wool a little bit for the Champions League games, because like, we just need Joel to be fit for these. That's our aim now. Joel will be fit for all these big games. That was credit to him. That's what you need. Madge Apple with a great point, which is I wish his goal against Chelsea in the cup final had stood. The one where they gave the imaginary foul against Virgil. Yeah, that would have been nice. It would have been nice for him to have his Alan Kennedy moment, the unlikely hero.
Yeah,
that would have been quite nice. The unlikely hero is, oh yeah, that's the final Joel Matip one for us. There are certain players going, I wish they had that moment. That would have been quite nice for him.
Yeah, kind of like the Simicast moment where he got his penalty win, or the Kelleher moment where he got his penalty win. Just something where, he gets his moment in the sun.
Yeah. And Deco has made a good point. We are going to talk about our sponsors as well, but we'll cover this first, which is about Zoe's Place. We have retweeted on our socials. For those who don't know, Zoe's Place is a hospice for babies, which is sadly going to shut down this year. So there's a lot of fundraising going on to try and raise money to keep this going, because this is a crucial sort of facility. It's a horrible thing to have to imagine, going to a hospice for your baby. But the fact something like this in the Northwest is going to be taken away is quite concerning and quite worrying, for all the good work they're doing. So, it's Google it. You can see it. There's plenty of fundraising things going on. If anyone could help support that would be most appreciated, because it is a big thing. Now, slightly separate note. Tonight we are sponsored again by Football Prizes, and it's also something new. We're doing Defender tonight. So the latest prize is $3.95. It's 499 tickets, and the closing date is 15th of October. And it's to win a Trent Alexander-Arnold signed and custom framed Liverpool shirt. So if you want that, go to footballprizes.com, and all the details are in the description below. And of course, there's our two charities partners, which is the Lighthouse Cafe in Dublin, which is help feeding the homeless in Dublin, and fan supporting food banks in the Northwest. So the aim is to raise €10,000, €5,000 for each charity. Links description below. If you can give, please give. If you can't, share it on your social medias, or Kev will come around after you. That's also the reason Kev's not here. He's thrown a tantrum because no one's sharing it enough. So we also need to do that. Thanks, Ant, for the heads up, because that would have got out my head, because I'm not very good at remembering those things. Someone's asking, does the Champions League final assist count as a moment? Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a big moment. It's an iconic. It's part of an iconic goal. So, and he's played some iconic games. The Barca 4-0. He's a big part of that. So. But yeah, it would have been nice for him to get a winning goal. That would have been the icing on the cake. But again, because he plays well in the Champions League, in the League Cup final against Chelsea. And in fact, both of them he plays well in, because he comes on as a sub. I think he comes on as a sub, doesn't he, for when Van Dijk gets injured in the FA Cup final. And I'm pretty certain he starts the League Cup final and then comes off for Canate. But in both games, he plays well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that we're talking about his moment in the sun and whatnot, but I bet if we sat down with Joel Matip, he probably would be just fine closing the book the way that it was, and not having that moment, because it does seem like he was quite happy to kind of take that sideline approach. It seemed like he was really happy to let other people shine, and I think that's another part about his legacy is his just selflessness in the team, and just ability to let other people shine and really bring out the best in them. So maybe it's fitting that, his moments are a little bit more subtle, because he was a little bit more subtle.
Yeah, Madge Apple was a great one as well. And he bops Hendo in the head. I think he's not even on the pitch, is he? He's one of the subs, and you see Henderson turn around going, fucking hell. Turns around, but you can see as soon as he turns around, and there's a camera angle from the other side. It's just his smile. He just
There's so many great, little candids of him just, popping out behind other players, just, with this little goofy grin. And there was, just comic relief.
Yeah. Oh, she said his celebration of sorts against Newcastle when Carvalho gets the last minute winner. All I remember for that one is the Nunes one. So I'll have to remember what Joe was doing in that one. I mean, he did love a goal celebration. He knew how to celebrate a goal.
I feel like so many of the lingering images of me, of him in my head, are those celebrations or him just, I don't know. There was one, I forget what game it was, but there was one where he gets tackled and he sort of like inchworms his way down the pitch. There's so many where he's being like the goofiest person that you can imagine. And it's kind of like how I imagine like I would be if I was just like thrust into a game where I wouldn't know what to do with myself and I'd just be limbs everywhere and I would just be doing silly things with my body. And I feel like that's kind of what he was like. He was just sort of like an everyman's man kind of thing. So I don't know. I appreciate how relatable he was.
Yeah, you can tell but you can tell by every player speaks glowingly. Like you said, there's no trouble, but you never heard anyone, listen,
Never a bad word.
Footballers now, when they leave, now the truth comes out, doesn't it? Oh, what did you really think of? Like we all know Peter Schmeichel and Roy Keane hated each other. And they're quite happy to tell you that they hated each other. Which is fine. Look, not everyone gets on. No one mentions Joel. Or if they do mention him, it's always in a glowing thing of like, he's great to work with, or he's hilarious, or it's just good to be around. Everyone likes him.
Yeah, I think it must have been a really good example for the younger players coming through. And I think about those players now, like whether it was Curtis or whether it was Harvey Elliott, to have him kind of be like a grounding figure in the backroom area. And I mean, there are so many players in Liverpool's dressing room that kind of fall into that category, and they're all leaders in their own different way. And I think Matip was a leader in his own way, and it shows that you can be a leader while also kind of being more quiet and more reserved and just, a little bit funny. But I think it's a good example of how to be professional, for those younger players. So I hope that they looked up to him. And I think it would be wonderful if for his legacy, they were able to kind of take that, just sort of like, you don't always need to be in the limelight attitude, forward with them.
Yeah, I agree. So there aren't many sort of Joel Matip moments coming up there. I mean, what someone's asking, I can't repeat the exact phrase, but it said, "What's to say about the Cameroon FA that he ended up quitting?" And that was an interesting one because he retired from international football pretty young.
And I think they did a lot of work to convince him to play for Cameroon and not for Germany because he was eligible to play for both.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. I don't know how much of that was down to the injuries and him just trying to manage his own body.
It could have been, yeah.
I also think that he tried to retire and they basically said no.
I know because he couldn't play a game for us because of the AFCON, and then eventually after he'd missed, I think it was Man United or something like that. I think then UEFA then went, well, actually, if he's retired, you can't then hold him to play for you. And they've been
trying. I think up until maybe was it last year? I swear they tried to call him up last year. It might have been one.
I think
he
offered for one World Cup to come in. I think Eto'o said Eto'o refused to let it go because he'd been retired for so long, which is ironic. The one time he actually says he wants to be a bit selfish and says, "Oh, I'll go on. I'll give myself one last World Cup." They were like, "No."
They're like, "No, thank you."
No, thank you. They're probably going to do one, to be fair. But yeah,
he's actually. It's interesting that we're talking about that because we were sharing a clip earlier between a couple of us about how there is a little bit of action that's happening between FIFA, where they're talking about players and how many games they're playing, and I think that Joel Matip is a really good example of a player needing to take control of his body and what he's going to be doing with his career, because I think that's what he was doing. I genuinely think that he knew that his body could only take so much, and
Kev said this, isn't it?
Put down.
Kev said this as well. He said you can see a lot of footballers retiring from international for the 30 because they'll just need to preserve the bodies. I mean, it's the player association now, isn't it? Who are, is it legal action they're taking to sort of say like FIFA and UEFA are abusing their power with the amount of oversaturation of football?
They're basically saying enough is enough, I think was the quote that they used, where there needs to be a limit put on the number of additional games that you can throw into a calendar year, and they pointed to the expansion of the Champions League, and they pointed to the expansion of the Club World Cup and of the World Cup, and how they've kind of all happened quite close together, all of these expansions. And they really feel like it's reached a point where player welfare is all like, it's a tipping point, basically.
Yeah. He was quite
there's
clever.
No way they can do it all.
Yeah, he was quite clever, the guy, because he also positioned it as well of it's not good for the domestic product either, because they're saying like we're again having to reorganize domestic competitions, domestic leagues. We don't have much flexibility with that. It said some cup competitions have been scrapped or adjusted again to where only certain teams go in. It said so we don't get to do a full domestic competition. I mean, England's one of the few that still has two. Most countries have binned off having two domestic competitions because they've just gone like, can't. There's just not enough space in the calendar. So whether anything happens.
Yeah, I mean, it was clever how he also pulled in the Super League, and how he basically said that, the fans have spoken, that they care about domestic leagues, they care about domestic competitions, and that, this push for, big international Super League style competitions is not what the average footballer or football fan wants. And so that was just interesting how he used that as an argument.
It's funny with the Super League where UEFA were the good guys, and now they've created the Champions League, which basically is the Super League.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, in reality, neither of them were ever the good guys.
No, but it's funny how that got forgotten very, very quickly, wasn't it? But interesting, the interesting world that we live in. So I think before we carry on with Joel Matip, so the rest of the week, keep the bell icon on, because we'll have a few things. The international football is nearly over. Thank God.
I have not really been following with that. I did see.
I've literally generally the England games, I've actually turned them on in the second half because I forgot they were on.
Trent's goal was very good. I did see that.
I saw the Trent goal. That's about it. Both I was like, no. I sadly went to Anfield and watched Man City beat Liverpool, which was a bit of a blow. 92nd minute winner for Man City. So Liverpool would still have yet to win at Anfield, which is a bit of a.
I saw they had a pretty good turnout though. The
Kop was full, and the lower Kenny was pretty much full. So good turnout. No comps either, so it's all paid for. I think it was like a tenner for adults, £4 for kids. So if you ever want to get yourself to watch games at Anfield, there's still two more games to be played at Anfield. They're going to be playing Man United and Everton. So good opportunity. It's a good opportunity. Yeah, it's a good opportunity to get to see a game at Anfield. Because we know it's they're like gold dust trying to get one for the men's game. So look, and it was a good game. Good game. The result wasn't what I wanted, but the game was good. It's good to get games back at Anfield. I'm going to St Helens on Sunday, so we've got back-to-back football on Sunday. So we've got the women against Palace, and then we've got the Chelsea game. Which
how's that working out with their move to that stadium? Is that good for them so far?
Results wise, hasn't been great. The actual facilities and the actual stadium is really good. Okay. It was good. It was good that listen, we had Tranmere was good to us, but I think facilities wise, it's better St Helens. It's better park facilities. Just in general, it's just more where they want the game to go. It's more professional. You can see why they've done a 10-year lease there as well. Mm-hmm. So I think long term it will be a good move. This year it's just been a bit of an indifferent start. I think Liverpool have got a record so far of winning every game at half time 1-0, and unfortunately only turned one of them into a win. It's been a story this season of lots of late equalisers or late winners. So, but listen, it's early days. They're currently 5th, so
that's not too bad.
Plenty of time to go. And look, the aim is to try and get closer to that top 4. That's the idea. Only top 3 get European football. So, but we will see. On the positive side, with this young Canadian we've got, Olivia Smith, is ridiculously good at 19, and she holds the record now for our first ever goal at Anfield. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. She does bang it from outside the box. The only shame is she picked up a niggle.
I think I saw that.
No, that was Hoppinger. That was the week before. Okay. It's open play. Comes out, so she just hits it from the edge of the box, bottom corner. Good goal. Very exciting young talent. Someone's good when Man City are targeting her with constructive fouling. But sort of a compliment to how well she's playing is like teams are now trying to think of a plan for this 19-year-old. So exciting times, So that's all good.
That's
Look
great.
forward to the Palace game. Not Palace game, Chelsea game. Got too many games in my head.
I'm looking forward to getting back away from international football. I like the routine. I like the routine of having games. Um, I think it's going to be a challenge. I'm hoping that having Virgil come back a little bit early, I know that he wouldn't have wanted to get a red card, but I think having him come back a little bit early, having Salah come back a little bit early, it looks like Elliott is well on his way to recovery, which is great. I don't think he'll be ready for the Chelsea game, but he was running on grass. He was doing some weightlifting today in some of the media. So I think there's a couple things to be positive about there in terms of the lead up. So hopefully they'll have a little bit of time to prepare. And I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm kind of tired of the storyline of Liverpool haven't faced anyone. I'd like to kind of just get this game over with, hopefully with a good result, and kind of kill that storyline. Because I do think that Liverpool have been good. I think that there's room for improvement, obviously, and I think they're still transitioning into a new style. But I don't know. I kind of just want them to have something to hang their hat on, so that the media doesn't continuously use that as a stick to beat them with.
I mean, if you look at City, obviously they had Arsenal, at home, but City, while they've won all their home games, they haven't won their home. Sorry, they're undefeated at home. They've got the record so far of going behind every home game, which is something we were doing last year, and that's not sustainable. You've got to eventually get to a point where that's going to be fixed, So, but listen, it'll be interesting because Arsenal had a tricky run. Arsenal, I would say, but they've got an interesting one coming up, so we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm actually looking forward to this run. I can see some of our fan bases getting quite tetchy. It's so many games, it's all difficult runs, but kind of what you're in it for. You want you want to have this run again. You want to have these run difficulty. It means you're in the big competitions, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in the chat's kind of pointing out that Kelleher has had a lot of action the last couple of games. For looks like he's been busy, so that's good. At least he's getting a little bit of match fitness. I think for me, that sort of I always worry a little bit when Ali's not there, and that's not to speak badly about Kelleher, because I think he's probably the best second keeper in the entire league.
Yeah, but he's not Alisson.
He's not Alisson. So I think that's one thing that, again, I hope he shows up and silences me and other critics. He usually tends to. I usually tend to get really worried, and then he has a fantastic game, and I'm like, oh, yep, nope, that's fine. That's why we love him. So I'm hoping for more of that.
We'll throw you out. What can go wrong, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Szoboszlai had a really good game today. I think he scored a brace.
Sounds like Ken for something. I think Gravenberch had a bit of a difficult game against Germany. I think Holland in general
didn't even show that in the United States. I was kind of pissed off because that was the one I wanted to watch.
Yeah, Kev was saying it was a bit of a lesson for him in terms of how Germany controlled their midfield. But he did say that's kind of got to do his development. The world are good, because that's what you're gonna need. That's what you're gonna need to learn, isn't it? How to cope with that sort of stuff. I mean,
the more that he faces, the more he learns.
Exactly. So I suppose the only thing we've got to hope is the South American lads don't have, it's how much that takes out of them, really. That's probably the only concern. Because McAllister thinks he's going to play Tuesday night.
Play or not.
Well, talk is he's going to start Tuesday night. Early hours Wednesday morning, playing Bolivia. But luckily, I think someone said it's not at altitude this time, because bless him, last time we had to play at altitude, his first game back was a bit of a hard going.
I can't even imagine. It'd be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, but at least it's a Wednesday morning, so and we're not playing till Sunday, so I think the fixture has been kind in that way. At least we haven't got a game till Sunday, so we've got a little bit longer to.
What about Diaz? When does he play? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure someone in the chat can tell me. So yeah, so when United, a few pundits predicted United would finish comfortably ahead of Liverpool. We'll see how that goes. That's looking interesting. But oh dear, right. Let's find out where they are. Then we'll make a move. Kev's give up. I think he needs to get.
He gave up on his internet now.
Yeah, he's just give up completely, Kev. He's had enough.
A whole hour and 2 minutes in, and he's finally had enough.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've just seen his message. I've given up. So like, I don't know when he
If
sent that.
I was trying to deal with my router for an hour and 2 minutes, I probably would have smashed it against the wall already. I don't have that kind of patience with technology. When technology goes bad, I'm like, I have to walk away.
Yeah, I'm not the best. Good job not working IT, innit?
No, I would not be good at IT. I'm one of those people that's like, oh, did you smack the side of the screen a couple times, or did you turn it back on and off again?
It's amazing how often that works, though.
I mean, it especially with the older computers, it actually used to work quite a bit. I don't think the new tech responds well to that anymore.
Get on the company for. What's this? Get on the company, Kev. Big time now. Had an issue with Wi-Fi over Christmas.
We need to get him his own satellite dish.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, let's see. We've got.
He's such a diva, Mr. Sullivan, isn't
he? Okay, so everyone plays on. So it's Tuesday for me. So it'd be Wednesday for you guys. So we've got Colombia versus Chile, and then we've got Uruguay, Ecuador, and then Argentina, Bolivia. Those are all.
I mean, on the flip side, Nunes to get in the game for Uruguay actually could work in our favor.
That's true. We haven't talked about that.
Give him more minutes, which is probably what he needs. Just a few more game minutes.
Keep him away from chairs and Colombian fans, we'll be fine.
Yeah, but
But no, I mean, also, in all seriousness, him getting game time, getting a little bit of rhythm, I'd love him to bang a few goals so that he can get a little bit of confidence, because I do feel like he's such a confidence player.
Yeah. Also, Bielsa just get a tune out of him, and different environments. Something he's used to. It could help us because he's going to get games in this run. We are going to have. We'll keep saying Slot's going to have to rotate, but I think he really is going to have to rotate in this run. I can't see us doing the trick we've been doing so far, but I think some people are asking you to say Uruguay again.
I was trying to do it like the correct way, but I can't. We're just going to skip it. We'll move on. They're going to make me pronounce like Adidas, which I know I say in the American version, or Puma, which I know I say in the American version, or Nike.
Yeah. As long as you don't say aluminum foil, we'll be okay.
See, sorry. You could, that is how I pronounce it, but
I know it is. That's why you don't get wind you up.
I get it.
Cool. Right. Listen, it's 11:05, so let's let everyone go away because it's it's 11:05 for us. I'm not sure what is it in your end.
6:05. So it's like dinner time.
Dinner time, even better. Cool. Yeah. So listen, that was our little tribute to the lovable Joel Matip. Hopefully we get to see him come back at Anfield at some point.
I would like that. I would like him to come back for like some sort of testimonial game.
Legends game. There's a Legends game. Yeah, there must be a Legends game in March. Oh, come on, Joel Matip for a Legends game. I'll be so happy with you.
That would be really good.
I mean, we have got that to look forward to in the next 5-6 years. We're gonna have such
our Legend games are going to be fantastic. To have like Bobby back, and I don't know, they're going to be really good.
Yeah, might be better than the first team. So that's what to look forward to. So cool. But listen, until then, thanks, Ashley. And can you all like, subscribe, and all that good stuff? Click the bell icon, and no doubt we'll have more exciting stuff coming very, very soon. Until then, take care.